The hour of 7 p.m. having arrived, I will call to order this regular meeting of the Keene City Council. This meeting is being broadcast live on the City of Keene YouTube channel and Spectrum channel 1302. The video is also streamed on the city's website and is posted by the end of the next business day, barring any technical difficulties. If you would like to receive an electronic City Council packet to reference while viewing future broadcasts, please contact the City Clerk's office during regular business hours, or go to the city's website and subscribe to the city meetings email list. The agenda is also accessible from any mobile device. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Keaton Bosley.
Here.
Laura E. Tobin.
Here.
Michael J. Remy.
Here.
Randy L. Filio.
Here.
Robert C. Williams.
Here.
Edward J. Haas.
Here.
Philip M. Jones.
Present.
Andrew M. Madison.
Here.
Chrissy Roberts.
Here.
Jacob R. Favolasi.
Here.
Brian J. Lake.
Here.
Catherine I. Workman.
Here.
Bettina A. Chadbourne.
Here.
Thomas F. Powers.
Here.
And Mitchell H. Greenwald.
Here.
I'd like to recognize Councilor Greenwald to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to ask Councilor Greenwald to move the minutes.
Thank you. I move the adoption of the minutes of the June 2024 meeting as presented.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Greenwald and seconded by Councilor Bosley. Would all those in favor please raise their hands? We have a unanimous vote. Thank you. Next, on announcements, this evening we have two birthdays to celebrate. Councilor Remy on July 17th and Councilor Haas on July 22nd. Happy birthday, gentlemen.
You're actually the same age.
And relative to council agendas and meeting dates, the next planning licenses and development meeting is scheduled for July 24th. It will start at 5:30 p.m. That is a meeting at which rules of order will be considered by the committee. And then the Municipal Services Committee will shift its start time to a later hour, 7 p.m. that same evening. I think if councilors can attend that, it will be the last committee meetings of those committees until September. So it's probably worth attending. As is the FOP meeting on July 25th, beginning at 6 p.m. And we'll cover some of those topics that are going to be on the FOP committee a little bit later. One final reminder, the council's summer vacation then is scheduled to start with the cancellation of the August 15th council meeting, and that will include a cancellation of the September 5th council meeting. The council's standing committee meetings of August 7th and 8th and August 21st and 22nd are also canceled, and the committees will start meeting again on September 11th and 12th. And the next full council meeting will be on September 19th. We're going to move to the hearings, presentations, and proclamations section of our meeting, and I'd like to invite Alan Rumbrill to join me at the microphone. If he hadn't done this for his own retirement speech. I never would have had the courage to do this. Alan F. Rummerl, Executive Director of the Historical Society of Cheshire County, announced that he will retire on November 1st, 2024, after 41 years on the job. For many in Cheshire County, you have been the scholar in residence and the voice in the Monadnock region, the voice of history in the Monadnock region. You have written and recorded more than 1,500 Monadnock Moments radio spots for WKBK Radio since 1985. This is humorous. It's getting there, yeah. And Alan, you have written weekly newspaper columns called Moments in History in the Keene Sentinel every weekend that I can remember, and you submit weekly mystery photos to the Monadnock Shopper News. Alan, you've taught hundreds of classes on local history and museum management topics, and you have worked with hundreds of student interns and volunteers and responded to more than 1,000 invitations from organizations to present public programs on local topics. You have developed and installed more than 50 feature exhibits on themes ranging from industrial history to immigration history to art, archaeology, agriculture, advertising, baseball, the Civil War, civil rights, conservation, and many more. And you have authored many articles and is the author of 10 books on histories of various towns in the Monadnock region. If I leave out that Alan's family has been in Cheshire County since the 1770s, and he went to Keene State College and majored in history. Alan became the first paid employee at the previously all-volunteer Historical Society of Cheshire County in 1983. Under his stewardship, the Historical Society of Cheshire County has grown to 6 staff members, 130 volunteers, 3 buildings, 150-plus programs annually, an annual budget of over $500,000, and an endowment over $4 million. The value of Alan's efforts is demonstrated in the recently released BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, People of Color, Monadnock.org website. Jenna Carroll, the project's co-director, recently announced access to these historical records gathered through the Historical Society in Keene and the Monadnock Center for History and Culture in Peterborough. BIPOC Monadnock explores a diverse history of New Hampshire's Monadnock region between the 1730s and 1930s. I've been going through many of the hundreds of biographical records, fascinated by the stories they tell. And through the story of Reuben Jidham, a story written by Alan, one finds how a slave acquired by a Massachusetts man who the slave likely won his freedom by serving for his owner in the Massachusetts militia, fighting for our nation's independence, thereby gaining his freedom and then settling in Richmond, New Hampshire, where he resided until 1820 when he passed. This is U.S. history, told through the life of local people, documented by poring over many historical records of various types, which is the type of work Alan will continue after he steps down as executive director and is succeeded by Jenna Carroll in November. In the months leading up to your retirement, Alan, you've been honored with several career awards by the New Hampshire Preservation Alliance, their 2023 Preservation Achievement Award for Outstanding Leadership in Research, Public Outreach, and Stewardship, the American Association for State and Local History, their 2023 Leadership in History Award, and a Rotary Paul Harris Fellow Award. Alan deserves to be recognized many times more for his contributions to documenting the history of New Hampshire and its communities. And before that happens, and before his retirement on November 1st, I want to formally recognize and thank Alan Rummerl for his irreplaceable value that he has contributed to Keene and the Monadnock region. Alan, please accept, as a token of the City of Keene's appreciation, this symbolic key to the city of Keene. And thank you for all of your service.
Thank you very much. I'm a little exhausted after listening to all of that. It is an honor to be recognized for my work, the work that I love doing for many years, and it has been a privilege to be able to preserve and share the wonderful history of this region through thousands of stories over those 41 years. Speaking of stories, let me tell you about the Keene City Council in the 1800s. No, I'm just kidding. We do have a story coming on that. And I want to recognize all of the people from the Historical Society who agreed to look foolish for me tonight. So, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. And now I'd like to invite Med Kopczynski to join me. Med?
I don't think it's possible to follow Alan.
You want the glasses and the mustache?
I do. I may need them to get out of town after this.
In appreciation of Med Kopczynski upon his retirement, resolved by the City Council of the City of Keene, whereas Medard K. Kopczynski began his career in the City of Keene on the 17th day of July 2000 as Code Enforcement Superintendent, was appointed Acting Health Director on the 21st of August in 2000, became Health Director on the 9th of October in 2000, was promoted to Assistant City Manager, Health Director on the 4th of June in 2001, added duties as Acting City Manager, Health, Code, Enforcement, and Facilities Director on the 3rd of January in 2010, was selected as Acting City Manager by the City Council on the 2nd of October in 2015, and succeeded to the City Manager's role on the 31st day of December in 2015, and became the Economic Development Initiatives and Special Projects Director on the 28th of December in 2017. Whereas believing that government should be citizen-centric and possessing an impressive customer service philosophy, Med has used his analytical and problem-solving abilities to embrace team management as mentor, advisor, and leader, working with individuals and groups within the organization to break down silos, to further their goals and projects that focus on the public's need, serving as a change agent to improve processes and outcomes, and advocating for two-way communication with the community, creating a more sustainable culture for the organization and the broader community. And I'll just point out to the council and people viewing tonight's agenda, on item D8, we may go over it quickly. It's customer service opportunities for community development and fire prevention. It is Med's last presentation to the City Council in the MSFI committee, and it's a wonderful piece of work documenting all of those traits that we just enumerated. Whereas one of Med's most lauded accomplishments was to simplify and modernize Keene's development regulations into a land use code, updating policies, streamlining regulations, reconciling inconsistencies, incorporating a more modern approach to zoning, and ultimately providing a one-stop document with all the relevant rules, and subordinating his own preferences for the greater good, as well as to upgrade the associated technical components for staff. And whereas, with his skill to drive forward projects and bring them across the goal line, and his easy ability to deal with all those with whom he comes in contact, some of Med's other positive impacts include overseeing large building projects, improving economic vitality both within and for the city, such as the Marlborough Street Municipal Complex and the Keene Ice conversion, the conversion of the Masonic Temple to the Heberton Hall, further expand the library through a public-private partnership, taking the facilities and management function from decentralized confusion to a standardized planned program that coordinates its staff and all aspects of maintenance, energy efficiency, contract management, and submissions to the capital improvement program. Managing the Dillon Hopkins Airport during a vacancy, completing the U.S. Department of Energy Services Company's report for the City Council, organizing plans related to police communications, downtown economic and parking efforts, and the City Hall's fourth floor master plan, and temporarily supervising the minute-taking function. We keep amazing detailed records.
We do.
Human resources. And whereas his additional contributions as a team player engaged in adding value to the community include serving on and assisting the city's anti-graffiti committee, building maintenance committee, the Citizens Appreciation Nights and Community Nights, City Hall Space Needs Analysis Committee, the City College Relations Committee, Computer Policy Committee, Environmentally Preferred Purchasing Committee, Fleet Services Review Committee, Green Team, Keene Green Up Days, Monadnock United Way campaigns, and Personnel Advisory Board initiating City Hall cleanups, and being appointed to the State Building Code Review Board and the National Green Building Standards Consensus Committee. And whereas Med retires on the 28th of June, 2024, with approximately 24 years of honorable service to the City of Keene, now therefore be it resolved by the City of Keene City Council hereby extends its thanks to Medard K. Kopczynski for his dedication to the City of Keene and wishes him the very best in his retirement years. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution, properly engrossed, be presented to Med in appreciation of his years of service to Keene and the greater Monadnock community. And I'm pleased to be able to present this to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ed, before you start, could I say something? Yes, of course. So I usually don't speak because I give a speech at the staff retirement party, but I do want to just say just a couple of things. First of all, from that very extensive list of job duties and responsibilities, you can see that Med took on just about any project we asked him to over a number of years, and he succeeded at everything that he did. And I have no idea why you didn't want to keep the role of city manager. But I am very grateful that when I arrived in 2017, you agreed to stay on and work with me because your assistance has been truly impactful to everything that we've done since then. Med has consistently demonstrated a deep commitment to public service and a dedication to making Keene a better place for everyone. He is what you would call a true servant leader. So I just want to say thank you, Med.
So, Alan didn't have a whole lot to say, and hopefully I won't bore you too much. If I've accomplished anything, even though it's 17 days short of 25 years, it's, you can't do this alone. You can't do any of this alone, right? The public needs to be recognized in this because it's the public that we serve. It's the public that we communicate with. It's the public that we try to do things for. You also have to recognize your staff. Unlike a lot of people that work for the city, I have worked for other communities. Elizabeth has as well. What you have as far as a city government is an extremely good example of how we should do things. It's not something that's fraught up with personal invective. It's not stone throwing. It's not cage match city councils, which I have actually worked for in the past. You have a staff that is unparalleled in the Northeast and perhaps even in the country in a lot of ways. So I think you should recognize your staff for that. They contribute everything. If I did anything, it was really because of the staff. It really wasn't because of me. I was extremely comfortable having that ownership in turning the city over to Elizabeth. Very comfortable with that. And, you guys made a good choice, you know. I want to thank prior city councils, prior mayors, prior city managers, the present city managers, and I want to thank Tom Mullins. Tom has the ability to keep my feet on the ground at times when I need someone to tell me I'm off in the clouds. I want to thank Patty. You know, Patty is a jewel, a polished jewel, and one that I know at some point you're going to let go. And unfortunately, she does have to go, but she's not going that far. We know where she lives. Okay? With that, Mayor, I'll say thank you and bid adieu.
Congratulations. Thank you, Ned.
Make sure you're right about this, Alan. Oh, yeah, I'll come around. I haven't gone anywhere yet. I don't know you, but thank you. The first one I don't know. How you doing, Bishop? A couple Jersey boys. Sitting together, I don't know. You want me breakfast? And thank you guys in the back, you should be in the front.
And I'd like to ask Kara Fisk-Hennessy to join me for a proclamation to our Parks and Recreation Program. This is Kara's first appearance before the City Council, and she's done it in her 13th day on the job. All for a good reason. Whereas Parks and Recreation programs are an integral part of the communities throughout this country, including Keene, New Hampshire, and whereas our parks and recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic, environmental well-being of a community and region. And whereas parks and recreation programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for those who are mentally or physically challenged, and also improve the mental and emotional health of all citizens. And whereas parks and recreation programs increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property valuations, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of business, and crime reduction. And whereas parks and natural recreation areas improve water quality, protect groundwater, prevent flooding, improve the quality of the air we breathe, provide vegetative buffers to development, and produce habitat for wildlife. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And whereas this year's theme, Where You Belong, celebrates the many ways parks and recreation professionals across the country foster a sense of belonging in their community by providing welcoming and inclusive programs, essential services for all ages and abilities, and safe, accessible spaces to build meaningful connections. And whereas Keene, New Hampshire recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources, now therefore I, as mayor, do hereby proclaim the month of July 2024 as Park and Recreation Month in the city of Keene, and urge all citizens to relish the wonders of nature around them and participate in the diverse recreation opportunities offered to them in the city. Thank you for your service and all the programs you're going to deliver to our citizens in our community.
Thank you very much. We are indeed fortunate to live, work, and play in such a beautiful community with so many resources and so many offerings. We look forward to Where You Belong being our annual theme and really reaching having a multi-generational impact as we move forward in our programming. And I clearly would not be able to be here without the incredible team that I have to work with at Parks and Rec. So anytime you are out enjoying a park, a trail, cemetery, any of our programming or community events, please keep that in mind. It's an amazing staff to work with. Thank you.
Thank you, Kara. Best wishes. Okay. Moving ahead to nominations and confirmations.
This evening, we're confirming the mayor's nominations to both the Heritage Commission and the Historic District Commission. To the Heritage Commission, these are two longstanding members who actually have been serving recently as alternates and have come back, or coming back as regular members. And they include Rose Carey and Louise Zerba, with terms to expire December 31, 2026. And Louise will actually be representing the Heritage Commission on the Historic District Commission, which the code does require that sort of relationship between the two. And for the Historic District Commission, Louise's term will be expiring December 31, 2026.
Counselor Greenwell for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to confirm the nominations.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Greenwald, seconded by Counselor Bosley. And would the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Tobin?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Haas?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Favelis?
Yes.
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Chadwick?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. We'll move to communications. We have a communication from John Loveland. Would the clerk?
Yes, as the mayor's indicated, this is Mr. Loveland. He has written many communications to the council over the last year or so about the downtown infrastructure project. And it concludes with quite an extensive packet of information for you tonight.
That relate to that project, and I'm sure we've all taken a look at that as we warm up for this evening, and we'll accept these letters as informational.
Our second communication this evening is from Jim Copo and Jimmy Tempesta, and they are looking for the council's permission to discharge fireworks. It's going to be part of a larger event that's going to be showing appreciation to our first responders in a community day, scheduled for August 18th.
And this program will be reviewed by the Planning, Licenses, and Development Committee, in particular, the discharge of fireworks. Moving on to Section D, reports from council committees.
Starting off with a report from the Municipal Services Facility and Infrastructure Committee. It is about a request to erect a peace pole in Central Square. This is coming from several local organizations in the community. And the recommendation is that the city council direct the city manager to work with the petitioners to incorporate elements of the proposed peace pole into a new fountain design for the Central Square Common.
Recognize Councilor Greenwald for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Greenwald, seconded by Councilor Filio. Councilor Greenwald for the committee.
Just two little points. This will work in extremely well with the downtown rebuilding. The hope is that the fountain will be replaced with something more historic and dedicated to peace, which I think is a great idea. And that whatever conceptual design is developed, it will come back to the MSFI committee for an approval. Going off script a little bit, personally, I want to make a recommendation that this fountain be funded by personal donations from the public. And I'm prepared to put my money where my mouth is, and there will be a check from me. I don't know how to do that sort of thing, but I want to kick off the fundraising. Again, not from taxpayer dollars, it should be private donations.
Thank you, Councilor. Again, the motion is to carry out the intent of the committee with a design to be brought back before the MSFI committee at a later date. Any further conversation, discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor? We have a unanimous vote. Thank you. And thank you for your offer, Council Freeman.
Oh, cash. No.
Our second committee report this evening is recognizing a PowerPoint presentation that was before the Municipal Services Committee at their meeting recently, and it deals with the neighborhood parking project.
And we'll accept the recommendation of MSFI as information. Thank you.
Going on, we have a Municipal Services Facility and Infrastructure Committee report relative to an electric vehicle infrastructure plan. On a vote of 5-0, the Municipal Services Facility and Infrastructure Committee recommends accepting the report as informational and that the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to identify and apply for grants to help the city implement the report's recommendations.
Very good. Councilor Greenwald?
Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Greenwald and seconded by Councilor Filio. Any further comments?
No.
With any luck, the grants will provide to the city recommendations at a later date. Would all those in favor of carrying out the intent of the committee, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Going on, we have another informational report dealing with a roadway safety action plan. This was a presentation heard by Municipal Services Committee at their meeting last week.
And we'll file this as informational. I do want to call to the council's agenda attention, as I mentioned in recognizing Med Kopczynski's service to the city. This is a priority to bring forward recommendations on customer service opportunities. And, yes, that's where we are.
We're on the road safety, I
Didn't we just
Roadway.
act on?
Mm-mm.
We
Well,
have
you're
not.
you're ready
Oh,
to
this is
file it.
electric vehicles.
You're ready to file
Never
it.
mind. I'll save that motion, that comment for a moment later. Okay.
Ready, we filed that one, and so now we're on to another presentation. Municipal Services had many presentations at their meeting on the 18th. This one deals with customer service opportunities for community development and the fire prevention.
There we are. And we'll file this as informational. This is the one that I want to call to the council's attention, because it does contain the recommendations for community development and fire prevention. These are recommendations, and you'll see in there that we'll come back to MSFI as there are further implementations on this, but it teed up a number of topics that I'm sure the city manager's got on her to-dos, and we'll bring back to the council at an appropriate time. But don't just toss this one. Save it, because I think it does, like I said, it does tee up future conversations. Thank you.
Continuing on, we have a Municipal Services Facility and Infrastructure Committee report about the downtown infrastructure project. On a vote of 5-0, the Municipal Services Facility and Infrastructure Committee recommends that the City Council approve the preliminary design for the downtown infrastructure project as depicted on a drawing entitled City of Keene Downtown Infrastructure Project Preliminary Design Plan dated June 26th by Stantec Consulting Services, Inc.
I'd like to recognize Councilor Greenwald for a motion.
Very happy to recommend carrying out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Councilor Greenwald for the committee.
Thank you. What we are voting this evening is the end result of 2 years, 4 years. It just seems like a lifetime of work on this project. And I'm very happy we hit a goal to be here for this meeting. Council Filio and I worked very, very hard with the consultants, with the committee to actually get to this point. And what we're voting is the unanimous approval by the MSFI committee. We took input from the consultant, city staff, councilors, the public, and of course, the committee itself. It has been a very open discussion. There's been a lot of compromise on a lot of different issues, and quite candidly, there's a number of things I'm not thrilled about, Council Filio's not thrilled about, Council Tobin's not thrilled about. Who else we got? Council Favelis, and Council Workman liked everything, though. Not everything. A lot of compromise to get to this point. But it was an open discussion, and I think that's very, very important. There was nothing forced by the consultants or city staff. There are some things that I will swallow hard to deal with, and, well, there's some safety concerns that have been addressed in the traffic that I think are just terrific. Roxbury Street, West Street, the shape of Central Square, very, very well communicated at this point. We saved the square as such. It'll look different, but it's still Central Square as we know it. The fountain will be there, the soldier will be there. The shape of the common will be a bit different. That'll take in safety, so that's important. We will have bike lanes, and the bike lanes will have some issues, and I have concerns, safety concerns, but we have a committee that is working on the rules of the road, let's say. And with strict enforcement and cooperation, it will work. We've managed to accommodate the bikes, the public, the diners, the shoppers. I think we got just about everything worked into this. But it really will take the cooperation of everyone. It's going to be 3 years of difficult construction. And I'm committed to work with all the downtown merchants to get through it as well as possible. But there's no getting around it. It's digging up the street in front of their businesses, but this has to be done. If we put it off and put it off, I could foresee some February, there's going to be a water main break, and there's going to be a whole lot of people saying, "What's the matter with you people?" And I think back to the 2 other projects, and I wonder that council that was short-sighted and didn't do the pipe replacements that we are doing. It was just surface work because they didn't want to spend the money. Now here we are. We're doing it. It'll cost more money, but we'll get through it. The city manager has figured out ways of paying for this without the federal grant. I looked for more information on that, but it'll happen. So again, with cooperation, we'll get through it.
Thank you, Councilor Greenwald. Councilor Filio.
For the most part, I'm just going to be echoing what Councilor Greenwald said. Following last month's unanimous MSFI report, it's pretty quiet until about 48 hours ago. And I know a lot of members of this council and the public, it kind of heated back up again. Basically, as Councilor Greenwald said, had to do with bike lanes. And but with that said, and I think it's been pretty well noted that it's not my favorite part of the project. But as I said in committee, politics is the art of compromise. This project is the poster child for that statement. 2.5 years been working on this daily. Mitch and I are joking about it today, lying in bed looking at the ceiling at 3 in the morning. Did it more than once in the past 2.5 years. So what came out of MSFI, no, it's not perfect. It was absolute compromise. You won't find, in the residence, we have 23,000 people, you're probably not going to find one that agrees on all of it. I know the 15 of us will pick it apart, and we picked it apart over the last 2.5 years. But we did a good job. And as Councilor Greenwald said, and I want to send kudos to Mayor Khan, because when Mayor Khan took over, the process slowed down and became much more transparent. Not going to pick on anybody from the past, but it wasn't going that well. Mayor Khan came aboard, slowed the process down, made it much more transparent, a lot more trust going on between the community and the elected city council. The process moved along, the compromise came through, and I think it's worked. I know not everybody on this council is going to agree with all of it. I don't agree with all of it, but it's a good compromise, it's a good project, it will work. Thank you all for the past 2.5 years of doing this, staff, especially in my chair, Councilor Greenwald. We put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this one. Thank you all.
Thank you, Councilor Filio. I do want to make sure that I share whatever process improvements there were with our city manager and her staff, who I think were listening to the public and to this council and worked well to bring this to today's conversation. Councilor Jones.
Thank you. I agree with what was said before. I truly want to thank the committee for what they did. They took a process and did make it transparent, and We did fix a lot of things. I love what you did with Central Square. I love what you did with a lot of other parts of the project. Staff was very helpful with this, and what Randy said about you, Mr. Mayor, was truly correct. You slowed down the process, and we made it work. First, I'm going to ask a question that I think I know the answer to already. The public restrooms are not part of this project, correct?
Please.
So they are included in so that we're preparing for infrastructure underground for a restroom, but a public restroom is part of the CIP in fiscal '26, which is a separate allocation.
Okay, because I just wanted to address that, because there was a reason why we closed our public restrooms downtown, and we need to come up with policies before we do open it. Infrastructure for it is fine. I just want to make sure the public knows that doesn't mean there's public restrooms going up until we address it further. My other issue, when this first came out of the steering committee, I tried to compromise. I tried to take away the bike lanes for historic preservation reasons, for safety reasons. I could have went on and on about it. That amendment went down, I lost. No sense of me making another amendment tonight. I know where it's going. But that's very important to me. That was my compromise. So I'll be voting against this project for that reason, but I wish you all luck.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Councilor Workman.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to speak to a misconception and some misinformation that has been being spread about the RAISE grant and us not receiving that. While it is extremely unfortunate that we did not get that grant money, I have faith in our city manager that she will pivot and come up with a plan B. Our city staff are phenomenal at doing just that. When we talked about bike lanes and the RAISE grant particularly, we discussed how it would elevate our chances of getting the grant. There was never a guarantee that the addition of bike lanes was going to guarantee us that RAISE grant funding. So I just really want to be clear that that was, the 15 of us knew that going in, that it would elevate and our chances, and unfortunately, for whatever reason, it didn't happen. So I just want to clear the air with that. Thank you.
City Manager, would like to address that?
I just wanted to add, fortunately, I don't really have to pivot because we have been planning for this downtown project for a number of years, and the funding plan is already in your capital plan. So you've already adopted a capital plan which includes the funds for this project. And you're absolutely right, we did not guarantee the RAISE grant, and the RAISE grant was not included in the calculations used as part of the CIP. And another point about the RAISE grant, in New Hampshire, only 3 communities received the RAISE grant, and they only received planning grants, not capital infrastructure grants. Planning grants were in the range of about $1 million. Communities around, or states around us, received capital project grants that were in the range of $25 million.
Councilor Williams.
Thank you. I'd just like to say congratulations, everybody. This is a good project. I think we've done a good job. I want to thank many of the people in the audience all the people in the audience who've come and shown up to these many meetings and made your voices heard, even when I didn't agree with them. A lot of them I did agree with, and I see a lot of you in the audience tonight. I appreciate that, especially in terms of making the need for bicycle lanes understood and helping people understand how that really fits into kind of the more modern urban fabric we want to see with more residences downtown and easier ways for everybody to get around, not just if you're in a car, but if you're in a bike, an e-bike, a scooter, many options. I'm very excited that is coming. There were some other features of this project that I would have liked to have seen. As we say, we've all made compromises, but I'm glad that we found a place in the middle.
Counselor Haas.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd just like to compliment MSFI for getting this done, and everybody, city staff, and everybody that was involved. There couldn't have been a more open process. Could you have squeezed in another meeting somewheres, another public meeting, another presentation somewheres, or more than what was done over the past 2 years? This truly was a distillation of public opinion into something that the council, led by MSFI, synthesized into something that's workable and meets our needs. And it really positions Keene as something, as a city that will be praised and looked to for what it'll be like in the future. It's going to be beautiful. The bike lanes they're going to look like more sidewalk. Broad sidewalks are wonderful everywhere you go. And they'll be dedicated for bike lanes, of course, but it's going to make the whole thing look more like a boulevard and more expansive. It's going to be great. And whatever we put there, whatever kind of sidewalk or curbing or storefronts or pavement or speed tables, it's going to be up to us to make it wonderful. And we do that by the innumerable festivals that we have now. We're almost at one a month, I think. We're gonna get there. And not to mention what we can have on weekends over the course of time with this new downtown, with these expansive sidewalks, with bike lanes. There's a lot of things that have to be worked out as far as, and Mitch referenced it as regulations and guidelines and such, but it's gonna be wonderful. And if we take that forward with all the groups that are involved in the city that contribute to this, we can't go wrong. Thank you.
Counselor Bolson.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I just want to say how proud I am of this council and the previous council for getting to this point today. This was a painful process, and I think it shows us that a hybrid of a workshop, a full council workshop, and a committee can work. Finding a road to a compromise meant getting all of us in a room working together. And that was not an easy process, and it didn't look pretty all the time, but we managed it. And I appreciate the fact that we've got a project at this point that is a compromise and that nobody's truly fully happy about, because that means that everybody has had some input and their passions have been heard. And on the heels of the death of the young man in Jaffrey that was on an electric vehicle, I'm proud that our downtown is going to have these bike lanes. I think that we need to have good planning and policies for those, but that type of transportation is happening, and I want to see a way that we can come up with a good process of protecting the public, and we have to plan for the future.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Tobin.
Thank you, Your Honor. One of the things that's really exciting about this moment for me is, so I think it was in 2018, around then, I was at one of the first meetings where the question was asked, and this is after the street beside me was dug up and I was walking through a construction site to get to work every day. I went to a public meeting, workshop, and the question was asked, we are going to have to dig up Main Street and replace all of the pipes. And what do we do? Do we build it back exactly the same way, or do we change anything? And it was such an inspiring brainstorming session. And I really appreciate the energy that is in the room today, and just kind of that I feel around this project, the more people understand about it, which I think is a really important aspect, that continued communication about expectations and how to make it through this. And I can tell you, as someone who has lived at near three of these similar projects digging up the streets, it is tough, but you get through it, and it's gonna happen. So I'm excited. Thank you.
moving towards the question, yes? You have another comment?
Just as I was thanking people, I forgot to thank Stantec. So I do appreciate, what you've brought to this project. I think you've done a great job. Thank you.
Everything, everybody. Properly, I don't know that I properly thanked Councilor Greenwald for your leadership, the number of hours and additional meetings that you took on.
Can you turn on your microphone?
For those that were for the public, Councilor Filio. I'm sorry. I'll just say that one more time. Yeah. I want to thank you for all the additional work. No, there were a lot of meetings that you took on in addition to those that were in public with the staff and with Stantec. I want to thank the other members of the committee, Councilor Filio, Councilor Tobin, Councilor Workman, and Councilor Favelis. You're yes, you got your toes wet anyway. Yes, yes, indeed. We appreciated your participation in the public workshops and, before you were a counselor. Anyway, we are now at a point to ask for a vote on this motion. Seeing no further discussion, this is a show of hands. Would all those in favor please raise your hand? I see 14 votes in favor. Anybody against? And 1 in opposition. Thank you all for your, just say, government is a process of collaboration, and this has been a very collaborative process, whether you're witnessing it from the council's perspective or the public's. I appreciate the level of collaboration that you as councilors have exhibited. Thank you very much. We have item number 7.
On to Finance, Organization, and Personnel Committee reports. We're starting off with the Invest New Hampshire program and the demolition of the former Roosevelt School. I would want to note that the city attorney did draft a revised motion for your consideration this evening. It speaks more specifically to the contracted parties involved. And I believe our request is that you file the committee report, and we look for a motion on the floor that'll encompass the attorney's revised language.
Councilor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to recommend the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to apply for, accept, and expend an Invest New Hampshire capital grant not to exceed, well, we'll take more money, but at this point, it's $412,000, and to negotiate and execute all necessary agreements with Monadnock Affordable Housing Corporation related to the capital grant and intended for the demolition of 438 Washington Street, better known as the Roosevelt School.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Powers and seconded by Councilor Rennie. Councilor Powers for the committee.
Thank you, Your Honor. Of course, the language has been changed to cover all the various elements of this particular project. And I want to clarify for everybody right off the bat that that school's not getting demolished. It just so happens that this funding source from the federal funds and going through the state to us is principally centered around demolition, but that doesn't mean the demolition of the entire building. Prior funding that's come through from this particular source, or very close to this source, was used to demolish the gymnasium. It's in the back of the building, or was in the back of the building. And this demolition money is for internal demolition, because they'll be taking down walls and particularly bathrooms to clean that out and make it buildable for this kind of housing. In the future, there's some more buildings that are going to go out in the back, so there's housing coming along with this building, what's left of this building, and future buildings. So, as I said, we've seen this particular funding source several times in the past. I hope we will in the future. FOP voted unanimously to carry this out, and I hope the council will do the same. Thank you.
Any comments from councilors? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Can you turn on your microphone, please?
Seeing no further conversation, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Continuing on with finance reports, we have the acceptance of a donation to the Heberton Fund. On a vote of 5-0, the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommends the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to accept and expend a donation of $1,169 to the Heberton Fund from the trustees of the Keene Public Library.
And Counselor Powers?
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Moved by Counselor Powers and seconded by Counselor Remy. Counselor Powers for the committee.
Thank you, Your Honor. The library director joined us a couple weeks ago to tell us about another project, a nice project that's going to do some improvements to the, we hope, to the library area, and we might be able to use some of the engineering for a couple other folks that need some sound remediation. The principal engineering work is for the Cohen Hall in the building to deal with the fact that there's so much space. Beautiful building, looks really great, but it does cause problems when we have meetings. We've had some very good meetings for very important projects over there, but the sound just bounces off the walls, and it's kind of difficult for a lot of people to be able to be effective. So the director has put together a project, and there's some funding. There's a partnership with library trustees and the Heberton Hall income that comes when they rent out certain parts of that building to put together for a project of $1,169. And we are going to authorize this evening the manager to accept and expend those monies for this particular project. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Powers. Any further comment from counselors? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Our next report from the Finance Organization and Personnel deals with the donation to fund Makerspace interns. On a vote of 5-0, the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommends the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to accept and expend a donation of $15,000 from the Friends of the Keene Public Library to fund Makerspace interns.
Counselor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Remy, and Counselor Powers for the committee.
Just another example of how this community comes together for various projects. And the library folks have a lot of good friends that work through various programs, and originally brought this Makerspace program to the building. And it continues to go on, and it's very popular amongst students. This is $15,000 to help operate, because the majority of the folks that are there are interns, are keeping one or two jobs to get through college, and their personal training to hopefully be librarians. So the $15,000 is here to support the program, Makerspace interns, and they're there Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays during the day, and sometimes on Saturday. There's a list available to anybody, and I know there are many students that are, young students that are signed up to use that facility. FOP unanimously recommends that you also accept and give the authority to the manager to accept and expend these funds. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments from the council? Public, please take note of those days that Counselor Powers noted during the week. Seeing no further conversation, all those in favor? The motion carries unanimously.
And our final finance report is regarding some discussions that the committee had.
Can you turn on your microphone, please?
This last finance report is dealing with some discussions that the Finance Committee had with a citizen, Mr. Charles Smith, who wanted an opportunity to speak about issues of transparency, homelessness, freedom of speech, and political signage. It is recommended that the council accept it as informational.
And we will file that as information. I'll also call the attention of the council, a follow-up letter of thanks from this citizen, Mr. Smith, that you should have received this week. Okay, turning to the city manager for a report.
Thank you. So I want to start with a storm update. I did provide some periodic updates yesterday in regards to our progress, but just to kind of give a full overview. The city experienced a severe storm event on Tuesday evening, July 16th, torrential downpours and high winds with gusts of up to 50 miles per hour. The storm began around 7 p.m. There was damage around the city, but a significant amount of damage was focused in the northwest area of the city in the Maple Avenue, Court Street area. The event resulted in trees and limbs falling onto power and communication wires, into the roadway, and onto private structures. In regards to the response, the fire department started receiving calls around 7:18 p.m., having over 35 calls within a 15-minute period of time related to wires, trees, and limbs down on roads, vehicles, and buildings. A challenge for the fire department was the Southwest Mutual Aid had an equipment failure, resulting in them unable to provide dispatch support to the city for a period of time. The fire department initiated a 5-engine task force with mutual aid support from the towns of Marlborough, Spofford, Hinsdale, Swansea, and Chesterfield. And I want to thank those towns for their support and emphasize the importance of mutual aid. No town or city can possibly maintain 24-hour, 7-day-a-week coverage to respond to an incident like that of this type of magnitude. And that's why we rely on mutual aid. The Public Works Department responded to downed trees in various locations, with Maple Avenue and several other streets closed for restricted debris was discovered. It was initially estimated that approximately 33 private structures had been damaged by falling trees and limbs, primarily within the Tanglewood Mobile Home Park and one on Glen Road. Blackbrook and Drummer Hill water booster stations lost power and were operating on emergency generators. Blackbrook wastewater lift station lost power and was operating on an emergency generator as well. The Court Street well field also lost power. In terms of recovery, the fire marshal and the building division performed a review on 44 buildings in the community in a short period of time. Tanglewood Mobile Home Park identified 31 buildings with minor damage, 6 buildings with major damage, and put placards on those buildings marking them as unsafe. Court Street condos, 1 building with major damage and 1 building with minor damage. Glen Road, 1 building with major damage and a placard placed as unsafe. Woodbury Street, 1 building with minor damage. Sesame Street, 3 buildings with minor damage. Portland Street, 1 building with minor damage. The Tanglewood Mobile Home Park had the most significant damage to private properties within the park. American Red Cross has been called to assist residences. They are scheduled to set up a reception center at Tanglewood Park at 10 Sparrow Street between 1 and 7 p.m. tomorrow. The Public Works Department has reported that all streets and roads within the city are open. They have several days of work to clean up trees, limbs, and debris from the public way, and power has been restored to all of the water and wastewater facilities. The Parks and Recreation Department reports damage in Monadnock View Cemetery, their pickleball courts with significant damage, Fuller School baseball field, Sesame Street playground. Parks and Recreation staff are reviewing trail networks, including Goose Pond, for additional damage. City departments are continuing their assessment and cleanup efforts. This was a great effort from a city team to respond and now recover from this event. The city has a lot of new faces. We've seen a lot of people retire and positions, and they all came together to work through the challenges of this late day and this fast-moving storm. And I also want to recognize and thank our returning Emergency Management Director, Court Blomquist, who came forward to help manage this event. Thank goodness we still have him on tap, and he was very helpful in making sure that all efforts were coordinated and that we were also communicating at the state level with Homeland Security and American Red Cross as resources were needed. In regards to the downtown project, it was mentioned this evening, a city manager committee was created through work with the mayor to bring forward stakeholders to discuss proposed bike lane rules for the downtown. That group met for several months and completed their work in June. Now that the preliminary design decision has been made by the council, we will be bringing forward the group's recommendations starting at the July 24th MSFI meeting. for those interested. I just wanted to give an update related to assessing. The city is starting our data verification project. You may have already received a letter. We go out to numerous properties annually for a number of reasons. This is, however, a systematic approach to start reviewing all properties in the cities. We will not be reviewing properties in the sense of bringing them up to market value, but rather looking to make sure our data is accurate and we've accounted for any unknown changes that may have occurred. This work is in advance of a citywide revaluation of property in 2026. Letters are being sent out to property owners in batches as we make our way through neighborhoods. Letters offer an opportunity to arrange for a specific appointment prior to us visiting the property. Assessing employees will have photo IDs and will be driving city-marked vehicles. So this is something we do right before we do the revaluation to make sure the data is correct before we look at creating a statistical update for the values. I also wanted to let you know, I'm very happy about this and proud of the work that everyone has done, that the property behind the Hannaford's Plaza has been cleaned up. The city worked with the property owner to clean up the area. Over 20,007 pounds of trash was removed in the course of 2 days. The property owner hired a contractor to collect the trash, and the city provided a one-time opportunity to have it disposed at no charge to the owner. I want to thank the property owner and the city team for making this happen. This is the 5th or 6th location that we have cleaned up this year, and it's been a great effort. And I think it's not only is it important to our environment and our community, but it is also just important for the property owners to be able to manage and monitor activity on their property. So kudos to everyone.
Thank you, Manager. I'm sure this was a full week that without having to deal with an emergency situation for those in our city who are more affected and impacted by this, are my sympathies, and I hope that they will continue to reach out to city staff and to the services that are available and provided, hopefully tomorrow on Sparrow Road in the Tanglewood subdivision. Seeing, we will move on to reports of city officers and departments.
So what you have before you is a letter from me. It is a formal announcement of my retirement, effective April 30th, 2025. This announcement is the first step in it. I thought I would be able to get through this.
I can give you a hand.
This, I like to think of it, it's a domino. I'm the first domino that's got to fall. And that's the way it has to be. So I'm going to announce my retirement, April 30th, 2025. I need you to accept it in order for the next domino to fall. And I do this because there really needs to be a smooth transition. This is a very difficult job to herd this process and to you and to this whole process. And we really need to have it very, very smooth. And we also need to make sure that at the end of these 9 months, this department is as strong then as it is today. So I want to fall first. This is not my farewell. I've got 9 more months of work. I've got a heck of a lot of work to do ahead of me. So I'll save my farewells at that point. But thank you for all the support over the years.
It certainly is not a fall. It is a succession plan. And
Yes.
I think we all appreciate your attention to that. I just want to say on behalf of all the mayors, councilors, and city staff that you have served, and on behalf of the thousands of volunteers whom you've recruited, oriented, and supported, I thank you for your service. The city of Keene has benefited greatly from your dedication, professionalism, steadiness, commitment to service excellence, and your hearty laugh.
Thank you.
I turn the difficult part of this over to Councilor Greenwell for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, let's see, I move to not accept. All right. Move to accept the notice of retirement effective April 30th, 2025, with gratitude for the years of service, dedication, friendship, and support.
Second.
Thank you, Counselor Greenwell, and thank you, Counselor Bosley. We have the motion. Seeing no further conversation. Oh, sorry, we were close. A roll call vote has been requested by Counselor Jones. That is appropriate, and
Counselor Bosley?
thank
Yes.
you.
Counselor Tobin?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Reluctantly, yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Haas?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Well, out of respect, admiration, and a whole lot of love, I'll give you what you want and vote yes. I'm reluctant.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Madison?
Enjoy your retirement, yes.
Counselor Roberts?
I don't know if I can go follow Mr. Counselor Jones's comments, but I'll say yes.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Favelis?
Yes.
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Begrudgingly, yes.
Counselor Chadbourne?
Yes, and thank you, Patty.
Counselor Powers?
Okay, yes.
As long as I get to join your club? Yeah, yeah?
Not until,
Not until
Not
I'm...
until May.
don't sneak in there early.
Counselor Greenwald?
I don't think so. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, counselors.
All right, motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Patty. That won't be the last time that we thank you. Moving on to reports of boards and commissions.
This is a recommendation from the planning board to have Michael Conway be the city's third representative to the Southwest Regional Planning Commission. This one's a little unusual in terms of our boards and commissions. Typically, the nomination is through the mayor and the confirmation is through the council. For this particular statutory board, the nomination is through the planning board with the confirmation through the city council. So it, again, is Michael Conway to serve on the Southwest Regional Planning Commission.
And Counselor Greenwald for a motion.
Move to confirm the nomination.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Greenwald and seconded by Counselor Bosley. Any further discussion from the council? Seeing none,
Roll.
this is a roll call.
Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Tobin?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Haas?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Favelis?
Yes.
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Work?
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yes.
Our next several items are coming in from boards and commissions. Our next one would be actually from the Conservation Commission. It is a request to acquire property located at 0 Washington Street.
And I'm going to ask that we table this motion until our August 1st council meeting.
Our next item in business is a resignation from Dawn Thomas Smith. She's been serving on the Partner City Committee. Actually, I was going to check this. I think she's been serving before it was even an official board. I think it was an ad hoc committee in the very beginning, maybe started by Councilor or Mayor Russell. Dawn Thomas Smith has been a member of the ad hoc committee, and when the actual committee became sort of codified as a public body, she continued her service, though it has come to an end with her resignation.
And Counselor Greenwald for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to accept the letter and communicate appreciation and regret.
Moved by Counselor Greenwald and seconded by Counselor Filio. There's no further discussion. Seeing none. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
And our last item of business under this section of the agenda is a B version of the charitable gaming facilities. It's ordinance O 2023-16B. The planning board made a finding that it was consistent with the comprehensive master plan, and the Planning License and Development Committee has asked that the mayor schedule a public hearing.
And I'm pleased to refer this to the Planning Licenses and Development Committee, and we will set a public hearing for Thursday, August 1st at 7 PM during our regularly scheduled city council meeting.
Going on to another item on our agenda, this is an ordinance for first reading. We actually have two in this section. We have ordinance O 2024-12, an ordinance relating to class allocation and salary schedules. This deals with a specific position in the Revenue Collection Division.
And we'll refer this to the Finance, Organization, and Personnel Committee.
And we have ordinance O 2024-13, an ordinance relating to city attorney functions and powers.
This ordinance is related to the process that'll be followed for obtaining applications for the city attorney's position, which was vacated with Tom Mullins' retirement in February, filled temporarily by Tom. Graciously, please don't do anything to upset the apple cart. But we'll bring forward this revised position description to the next Finance, Operations, and Personnel meeting. The chairs of the three council standing committee and I will comprise a working group to complete the administrative tasks related to advertising the position once we have an approved position description. And that group will collect those applications, present those to the city council for review and decision-making. So it's anticipated, assuming that the committee brings forward a recommendation that can be approved by the council at our August 1st meeting, that advertisements for the city attorney's position would begin in mid-August with an application closure date in September. So hopefully that lays out a timeline and a process to the councilors, and we'll await further conversation and presentation from Finance, Operations, and Personnel. Good?
Going on to ordinances for second reading, we have a report from Municipal Services. Going on to second reading ordinances, we have a report from the Municipal Services Facility and Infrastructure Committee relative to a stop sign on Water Street in Grove. It is ordinance O 2024-11. The committee is recommending adoption of the ordinance.
Okay. And Councilor Greenwald, ask you for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move for the adoption of ordinance 0-2024-11.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Greenwald, seconded by Councilor Filio. Councilor Greenwald for the committee. I'll just remind council this is a roll call vote.
Thank you. What is before you is to put stop signs on Water Street. There are already stop signs at Grove Street and Community Way, but this would create a four-way stop. In committee, the vote was 4-1. I was concerned, but ultimately I voted in favor of putting the stop sign. Well, I've had second thoughts on that, and I'm going to urge you to perhaps listen to what I'm going to say, because I'm going to speak in opposition to the ordinance. Today, I was driving down Water Street, and I'll shorten the story, but car coming on Grove Street, Community Way, pedestrian, bicycle, car coming up Water Street, and me coming down Water Street. Just for the heck of it, I stopped where the stop sign would be. Everybody stopped. And we're all looking at each other. I mean, the bicycle, the pedestrian, and the cars. And then we all start to move. And then we all stopped. I think you get the general chaos of it. Making a four-way stop does not make for a safe intersection necessarily. And if you think it does, then we should be speaking about other streets, like Roxbury Street at Lincoln Street, Court Street at High Street, Washington Street at High Street, Arch Street, Radford Road needs one too. West Street, anywhere you want to put them, because there's people coming in on all sides. Maple Avenue certainly should have a stop sign. But what this is all violating is the concept of the through street, what do we call it? major thoroughfare. There's a traffic word for this thing. But the major roads want to travel. The side streets need the stop signs. Drivers need to pay attention. You know, oh my goodness, put down your cell phone and actually look and take responsibility. Stop signs are not going to solve the problem. And ultimately, not city engineer, director of public works mentioned to me that the flashing lights for the pedestrians, there's something in the code that's either going to have to be removed or that crosswalk is going to have to be moved. So that is just going to create some other chaos. So put it all together. I'm urging you to vote no on this, and let's hope our drivers actually take responsibility and slow down and pay attention.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Favlis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was the one in the 4-1 vote, had indicated at committee that I might change my mind by the time that the full council vote came up, and I haven't. I have, we heard from a constituent at the committee meeting who lives on Water Street who thought this was the wrong idea. Councilor Greenwald and I, when we were volunteering at the 4 on the 4th road race, heard from a constituent who was very adamant that there not be a stop sign there. Even the constituents and folks that I've heard supporting this really identify speed as the issue here. So I've been to this intersection, it's in my ward. I didn't see anything inherent about the intersection that would make it dangerous, so there was an engineering problem. Recognizing that I'm not the Public Works Director, I did ask the Public Works Director at the MSFI committee meeting if he thought there was anything kind of inherent about this intersection. He said no. He said the sight lines are real clear, there's no sharp curvature. And so putting all of that together, I really do think we don't have an intersection problem here, we have a driver behavior problem here. And the solution is not to put up 2 additional stop signs, but rather it's awareness, it's enforcement. And so I will be joining Councilor Greenwald in voting no, and hope that the rest of the council joins us. Thank you.
Counselor Roberts.
Thank you, Your Honor. I've heard a couple of people say, hey, driver awareness. We just got to make sure the drivers pay attention. Well, when we had a jogger hit on North Lincoln Street, we didn't say driver awareness because people they kept flying down North Lincoln Street to make sure they were like the Duke of Hazzard so they could get airborne. So we put calming devices in there to slow it down. Okay, I live on Grove Street. I've been there for 25 years. Grove Street is a speedway. As soon as they come around the corner at Marlboro Street, they're flying down there. If you come down Water Street, they come Community Way, they come flying down there. Okay? That neighborhood is changing. It doesn't have all the college students anymore. It has more and more families there. It has more kids that walk to Wheelock School. There's only one sidewalk for most of the way on Grove Street. And let's put it this way, you weren't the city manager at the time, but Grove Street is not the way it's supposed to be, because if I'm coming down Community Way and I'm getting ready to drive down to turn into Water Street or drive into Community Way, we're head on each other. We have we've taken a 2-lane road, and then when we get to the corners, we automatically make it a 3-lane road. That's how you do not design roads that way. Sooner or later, someone is going to get hurt on Grove Street. Sooner or later, it's going to be one of those kids that are walking to school. If that happens to somebody when they're crossing over Water Street and it's a little kid, how are we going to look at ourselves and say, well, that 4-way stop sign was inconvenient? Second, hopefully everybody who drives passed the driving test, and you know who's supposed to go on a four-way stop. First person, second person, third person. Third, we would go to, it's marked, go look at the crosswalk markings at that area. They're not very bright, not at all. You have the flash on one side, but the one other side where people come across off Water Street, Community Way, come directly across that crosswalk, then they come into no sidewalk and they have to actually walk in the road. And finally, people run down Water Street is a high-speed dropway, and I can't tell you how many times as I was waiting to take my turn that someone would fly down Water Street and take a sharp turn right into Grove Street because they have the right-of-way cutting cars off. So there are so many near accidents there when people do that. I'm supporting this. I wish we didn't have to do it, but there's too many little kids' lives and safety at work here.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Haas.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, this concern, this issue grew out of a community concern about the speed coming down Water Street. City engineer did a great study and provided speed cameras, and we're able to clock the average speeds, and they're all within reason. You know, that doesn't help for the one-offs, but that's an enforcement issue. But the idea that the speed was not a problem within the existing regulations. And then we went further and the city engineer went further to look at what could be done or what else might be done. He looked at accident information, and that intersection of Grove Community Way and Water Street has a high frequency of accidents that warrants the four-way stop in traffic engineering. It doesn't, four-way stop signs don't do anything about speeding. People speed up to the stop sign and jam on the brakes, and then confusion reigns. But the four-way stop is not an address to the speeding issue, which was the original concern. It's an address to the accident issue. The community is much more concerned about the speeding issue on Water Street, coming down, especially east to west. That requires other issues, other solutions. One thing that was popular in the community would be a four-way pedestrian control. So you hit the button, lights flash in both directions at Grove and Water. That would be one solution. There's many other solutions. Improved sidewalks, as Councilor Roberts points out. The sidewalks there are terrible for pedestrians. At some point, the addition of the left-hand turn on Grove Street to go west on Water seemed like a good idea to somebody. That probably complicates it. I would recommend we not proceed with the four-way stop and instead look at different ways to have better traffic calming, address the sidewalk issue, perhaps provide pedestrian control at the intersection, but other solutions, and not think that the four-way stop is going to solve all those problems. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Filio.
Thank you. First time in a long time I'm going to respectfully disagree with my esteemed colleague across the aisle here. Nobody likes additional stop signs in their neighborhood or anywhere. You know, everybody hates stopping for stop signs. It's just a fact. This proposal for this intersection, this ordinance, is based on actual accident data. This isn't just a public opinion or somebody just said, I think we need one. This is based on actual data. And I know Councilor Greenwald mentioned, well, what about this intersection? What about that intersection? We'll take a look at them. We can take a look at any intersection. But this actual intersection has actual data that supports stop signs. We can't just go popping up stop signs. Public Works comes to us and we talk to them and we find out what the actual data is for the intersection. And actually, since that data has come up from those bad accidents, the population in that particular area where Councilor Roberts lives, you know, especially with the shelter being built, the new areas, homes being built, the new projects that have been built, that is a heavily used intersection right now. Over the years, it's probably one of the more heavier intersections that's been developed. And now we have Pat Russell Park up and around the corner. Traffic on that road is going to increase dramatically. So this isn't just some whim, let's put a stop sign somewhere. And Council House might be right. There might be a more effective, more expensive way to do it. This is the least expensive way to do it. We try it, see if it works. The stop signs are there in bagged. If we want to go with them, we go. If we don't, they'll take them back down again. This is an inexpensive way to increase safety in that neighborhood. You know, I don't want to be the one, and Councilor Roberts is correct. You go down the intersection a lot, there's kids running all over the place now, especially with the development, you know, all around the area. So I think this is an inexpensive way to create a more safe intersection. And as far as people, which way do we go? Look, we figure it out. It's basic drive red. First one to the right goes. If people can't figure that out, it might be time to get a new driver's license or a new test. This is a very basic proposal in front of us, very simple. Let's just vote yes based on data, and let's just see where it goes. Thank you.
Counselor Tobin.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would agree with Councilor Filio. I was just reviewing the minutes again because there's a specific criteria that was used to assess this intersection as in other intersections. So it's the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control. So there were 7 accidents over a 42-month period, which is very high. I think several of them were pretty severe. I walk over that way pretty much every weekend, and I stood there at the intersection and just kind of watched for a while. And I'm not sure that the vehicles coming down Water Street, I don't know that they would be able to stop if a pedestrian were crossing that street. In addition to the shelter that's now in the area and neighborhoods, I actually see a lot of seniors from American House crossing in that area. So I will be voting yes.
Counselor Williams.
I think it's a good place for a stop sign. I also like the idea of a stop sign on Roxbury and Lincoln Street, which I guess apparently doesn't meet the criteria. That one seems pretty dangerous. This one apparently is even more dangerous. So I think a stop sign is warranted. I spent some time recently in Burlington, Vermont, where they have 4-way stop signs just about all over the place. And, you know, it really does calm down traffic and, you know, makes more space for pedestrians and bicycles, and, you know, it's not so bad. I think, you know, let's take a 4-way stop sign, calm down traffic a bit. Drivers will get used to it.
Counselor Madison.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to agree this area does need a 4-way stop. I've almost been hit there, and I respect that, you know, a stop sign isn't a cure-all for all the traffic ills we have. I've also almost been hit at 4-way intersections. I don't know why, but lately drivers have been pretty bad on the roads. I drive an hour to and from work every day on Route 9, which just had a bad accident a few hours ago today. I see behavior that would make most DMV employees, you know, shocked. Just taking a left turn on a green arrow into work today, I had someone go straight on red, almost into me. So I've seen some pretty appalling behaviors on the road. I guess what I'm getting at is bad drivers are still going to be out there. A 4-way isn't the cure-all, but it's a cheap, easy fix we can implement right now, and if it turns out it doesn't solve the problem or doesn't improve the situation, they're easy to pull out of the ground. And if we don't want to pull them out of the ground, I'm sure some kid was going to try to take them out of the ground anyways.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think Councilor Madison is right. This is kind of a Band-Aid on a bigger problem. Yes, I'm going to vote yes for this because at least it will start to calm traffic, but we need to take a bigger look at traffic calming devices. This is a problem all over. The 4-way stops work. Let me tell you, come out to the intersection of Summit and Hastings and Maple Avenue one morning and watch to see if people are stopping all four ways. They aren't. I can tell you that because I drive through that intersection every day. But it's a beginning. So I think we should approve this, but look forward to more traffic calming ways. That's a long-term project. But I think it's something that this city needs, everywhere needs, not just city.
Thank you. Manager, Councilor Bosley.
I just want to remind this council about a conversation we had the better part of 4 years ago when we were reducing the speed limit on a street from 30 miles an hour to 25 miles an hour because the neighbors were upset about the speeds that people were traveling. And we talked a lot as a council at that point about neighborhood speed reduction. And at that time, I had asked, and I have not seen any data on it, so I'm gonna ask again, what can we do to get some of those speed devices that seem to be solar powered and mountable that just indicate to drivers what their speed is? Because I'm sure that I travel faster than I should on roads that I'm comfortable on, and I'm not even aware of what my speed is that I'm traveling. And if we can get a couple of these devices, I've seen them in other towns, and it makes me acknowledge like, oh, wow, okay, I'm really going 40 in a 30 mile an hour zone. And I immediately slow down because my intention is not to be breaking the rules, or it's almost a force of habit after 30 years of driving and you're comfortable in that vehicle and you're not necessarily aware of what your speed is. So I feel like if we can't have an officer posted at some of these dangerous intersections, that we need to find some way of indicating. There's always gonna be that one, cowboy who's gonna do it anyway. But we've gotta find some way of getting people to just have awareness around what their speeds that they're traveling at is. And if that's something that we can possibly have that's movable, and we can put it at different intersections in different neighborhoods and get people thinking about the speeds that they're traveling, as well as talk to our officers about doing some patrolling so that we can get people being conscientious of what, that there are tickets getting issued for this too. And will I support the stop sign there? Yes, I will tonight. Dare I say roundabout? We talked about a couple of intersections. That West Keene intersection would be prime for a roundabout option. I'm not opposed to, I know we have a reputation here, but I'm not opposed to looking at some of these other solutions. Those solutions involve traffic moving slowly and no one flying through red lights. And ultimately, we have to move in the public safety direction.
Thank you. City Manager.
I just wanted to follow up on a couple of things mentioned this evening. One regarding neighborhood speed studies and overall safety. There was a report out at MSFI not that long ago that was tied to the work that's being done by the Road Safety Action Committee that has been looking at intersections, crosswalks, and taking input from the public in regards to where there should be safety improvements, looking at data in terms of where there has been accidents. All of that is being collected. There was an interim report recently to MSFI that was just accepted tonight, actually, as informational. The final report will be coming out soon, but it will talk a lot about calming devices in neighborhoods, things that we can deploy. That effort will also help us to go for grants, which is one of the reasons we're doing it. But we're taking a lot of input and looking at a lot of data to say, where are the problem areas and where do we need to focus? In regards to speed signs, we have them. We have a couple of them. We deployed them in this neighborhood, which was part of a petition to look at calming of traffic in this area, which is why we knew that the majority of the traffic was actually not speeding. There were a few that were speeding at much higher speeds, but it was not the majority, which didn't warrant a lower speed limit. And so we do deploy them. Occasionally, we will have people request that they be deployed. We can deploy them with that message board on or that message board off. Interesting interestingly enough, it doesn't really change the data very much. Not the last time anyways, but, I think some people it might, others they sort of race to see how fast they can get to the speed sign. So it definitely has pros and cons, but we do have them and we do deploy them. Maybe we need to deploy them more, and that's something I can talk to the Public Works Director about. And we are definitely looking at the city as a whole through this road safety action plan to look at ways to address some of these issues more holistically.
Councilor Haas.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, Councilor Bosley is talking about the silent policeman. The traffic cameras that have been deployed, they're great, they show the speed, but they just show your speed, and you don't feel anything about it other than when I come down on my bike, I see how fast I can make it go. The silent policemen have a much greater awareness out of it, and then you almost feel like you're photographed. Some of them are actually displayed a sign that says, it flashes at you that you're speeding, and then it gives you, a complimentary light when you get under the speed limit. They're a little more serious than the traffic cameras. I really appreciate the speed recording devices that have been deployed. I see them in many parts of the city these days, and it's great to have them. But the silent policeman is a much more substantial enforcement tool, just short of deploying an actual officer who could issue summons.
Councilor Favelis.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to just address a couple of things that I've heard. First of all, I'm in agreement with Councilor Bosley. I know that when I'm kind of coming back into Keene, the speed recorder at the rec center, right? Like I'm comfortable with that area, and I'm usually going probably 5 or 6 over, and I see it and I slow down. So it's, I know that's anecdotal, and I'm not, disputing the data that was in the survey, but for me it works, and I imagine for others it works as well. I also just want to kind of continue the theme of common ground that came up in the downtown infrastructure project discussion earlier, and say that I don't think there's anybody in this room that thinks this is a perfect intersection where there are no safety concerns. Certainly nobody wants to let people continue flying down these spaces. Nobody wants kids that are crossing the street to get hit and struck by cars if we're voting no on this ordinance tonight. I do think that this is a conversation about what the best solution here is. And so I think that it's possible for different members of the council to recognize the same problem and arrive at a different solution. And so I want to just make that clear, that I'm not voting no tonight because I think that a stop sign would be inconvenient and I don't care about pedestrian safety. I'm voting no tonight because I don't think that this is the right solution here. I think it's an enforcement and awareness issue. Thank you.
Okay, we've had a lot of discussion. Are folks ready for a roll call on this motion? Let's
Councilor
ask the
Bosley?
clerk.
Yes.
Councilor Tobin?
Yes.
Councilor Remy?
No.
Councilor Filio?
Yes.
Councilor Williams?
Yes.
Councilor Haas?
No.
Councilor Jones?
Yes.
Councilor Madison?
Yes.
Councilor Roberts?
Yes?
Councilor Favelis?
No.
Councilor Lake?
Yes.
Councilor Workman?
Yes.
Councilor Chadbourne?
No.
Councilor Powers?
No.
Councilor Greenwald?
No, I did better than I thought.
I think by a close vote, that is passed.
Yep, 6 noes.
And 9 yeses?
Yep.
Okay, motion carries 9-6.
Continuing on our agenda, we're now at resolutions, and we have Resolution R 2024-26, a resolution in appreciation of Todd M. Tardif upon his retirement.
And I believe I should be recognizing Councilor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move for the adoption of Resolution 2024-26.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Powers and seconded by Councilor Bosley. Councilor Powers, would like
Thank
to
you, Your
speak to
Honor.
this motion.
Todd Tardif is an employee of the city for the last 18 or so years. He's a long-term member of this community. He's lived in the community for a lot of years. He's been engaged in related work prior to coming to work for the city. And he's somebody probably most of you don't know him because you hardly ever see him. but he's doing a very important job, has been doing a very important job at the water treatment facility in his latest role, where he's operating that plant, does some of the testing. So maybe one or two of you have had somebody call and ask, can I get a water sample? He's the fellow that's doing it. But he's decided now, after 18 and a half years, he's worked enough, it's time to retire, and he's gonna move to a very warm place. He's not gonna worry about winter storms or snow plowing, things of that nature. His supervisors describe him as a great employee, a team player, customer-oriented, and well-deserving of the Employee Achievement Award that he received in 2010. Anybody wonder how he came to work for the city of Keene? Well, he worked with a guy that came to work at the city of Keene and encouraged him, told him how great a place it was to come, because that employee had come to work here and had been promoted, so he got Todd to come, and Todd came and been promoted 3 times. If you see him before he moves out of town, congratulate him, wish him well. Thank you.
And hopefully we will. Thank you for your motion and your speaking. Any comments from councilors? Seeing none. Show of hands. All in favor? The motion carries unanimously.
Our second retirement resolution this evening is Resolution R 2024-27, a resolution in appreciation of Helen Kennedy Matson upon her retirement.
And Councilor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would move for the adoption of Resolution 2024-27.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Mosley. Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Your Honor. Helen Kennedy Matson. There's nobody in this city that doesn't know this young lady. She's been here 21 years, and she has kept all of us in order in some fashion over that 21 years' time. It's the first person you see when you go to the 3rd floor, probably the first person that answers the phone. She either knows you or she knows that number, because when you call, she identifies you.
Yeah.
And so she does that with a lot of folks, because that's part of her mantra, that serving the community and doing things for everybody. It's really hard to describe what she does, because there are just so many things. She's always been willing to do whatever it takes. She has been part of the, or a support person for the,
Partner City Committee.
thank you, Partner City Committee. This is one of the first projects she's gonna have for herself and her husband when she retires. She's gonna go on the next trip. You can expect to see her after she gets done in City Hall on Main Street. She's planning to participate in dinners and lunches downtown Main Street. Well, it's the way it is, and in the future, when it's even better after the construction. If you're a hiker, you'll probably see her on Mount Monadnock. And in most times when you do see her, she'll have in tow maybe a daughter or 2, or some grandkids, because that's a big part of what her plan is. So there's a little something for her here in a couple of weeks. She'll be coming to City Hall. Just keep saying congratulations, good luck, and you will see her around. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Powers. I look forward to that in a couple of weeks. There are some funny stories, just in 6 months. One can tell, I can tell about Helen. She's been a real steadfast servant for the city, and I think we all recognize as councilors and mayor just how service-oriented she is and responsive to all of us. Seeing no further comments, all those in favor of the resolution? Motion carries unanimously.
Our last retirement resolution for the evening is Resolution R 2024-28, a resolution in appreciation of Justin H. Putzel upon his retirement.
And Councilor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move for the adoption of Resolution 2024-28.
Second.
Seconded by, motion made by Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Remy and Counselor Powers.
Thank you, Your Honor. So if you're driving down Main Street and the truck in front of you is, it says Putz, that's not because the guy driving it's a Putz. It's Justin Putzel. And he is quite a good employee, he's a good friend, he's a good worker. He's somebody that goes out of his way to do something for you, even when he doesn't have to. He's just there, he knows how to get things done, and he's been very diligent about making his skills as a paramedic the best in the world. He completed his college degree down in the Springfield, Mass area, and it was his BS is in emergency services management. It gave him an opportunity to work beginning as a EMT in a very, very busy area. He developed skills for some serious cases that he's able to bring through his entire career. Went on to be a paramedic, one of the early on paramedics. He worked for more than 10 years for Deluzio EMS and had been promoted up through the ranks to captain. At the same time, he joined the Keene Fire Department as a call firefighter. And he decided to come on over next door from Deluzio's to the fire department full-time a few years ago. And he's continued to put those skills to work for everybody in this community. And he's quite the trainer with youngsters coming through the system, learning their skills and working their way through. And I would venture to say in the last 5 or 6 years, there have been folks that have been working towards and received their paramedics, largely due to his ability to train them well. He's leaving us, unfortunately, because of an injury on a job that requires him to be able to do a number of things that, because of the injury, it is not possible. So he does not want to leave, but has to because of the way the system works. You're a firefighter, you're a paramedic. However, he doesn't plan to be too far away. As a matter of fact, for the next month, he's gone to a summer camp to be their EMT and to be around his kids. But he and his family, particularly his sons, are very active in the woods. They're very active in sports. They're very active on water. So you'll see him around there. And he's working on a plan to be back here, working somehow with all of us in the city of Keene to make life better for all of us. Say thanks and good luck to him, please.
Thank you, Counselor. Any comments from counselors? Seeing none, all those in favor of the resolution? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. And at this point, I want to recognize Counselor Greenwald for a motion.
It's on. Move to go into non-public session for the consideration of legal advice under RSA 91, A3 to L, and consideration of the acquisition, sale, or lease of real property under RSA 91, A3 to D.
Second.
Okay, and that motion is for 91A3 to L. Yes, okay. I can see we're tongue-tied. Can happen on that, but it is as presented. Thank you, Counselor. Motion seconded by Counselor Bosley. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Tobin?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Filion?
Yes.
Counselor Williams? Counselor
Yes.
Williams? Counselor Haas?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Felice?
Yes.
Counselor Layton?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Chadwell?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yes.
Motion carries. We'll take a 5-minute recess.